Okay, I think I'm live. Not 100% sure. Let me just check a couple of things. Hang on. Oh. So bear with me for a moment. Okay, all right, okay, yes, it's all fine now. I think I know what I'm doing. Foro Aimin says hello, Cesar is here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. So this is a Q&A session where I am answering some of the questions that you asked me on Instagram. If you have any questions, if you have any more questions, you can write them in the chat and let me know. Oh, Estella is here. Estella Vera, hello. Okay, so thank you for joining me. And I'm going to start with some questions that people asked me about myself. Akil has joined us. Hello. Let's see how many people. We've got a few people here now. Hopefully more will come. So what I'm going to do is start off with the questions that people ask me about myself. Hello, Juva Sorensen. Okay, so one of the first questions I received was, how old am I? And I am 27 years old. I was born in 1988 and I will be turning 28 this year. Sometimes I forget how old I am. Or am I? Yeah, I'll be turning 28 this year. Okay, so another question was, am I married? And the answer to that is no, I am not married. What else did we have? Personal questions. Okay, Chechev Kamir asked me on Instagram if I have any brothers or sisters. The answer to that is I have one blood sister, one sister who from the same mother and father, but I also have 4 step brothers and sisters. No, sorry, 5 step brothers and sisters. So my stepfather, that's my mother's husband, has 1 son who is one of my stepbrothers, and my stepmother has 2 daughters and 2 sons, so they are also my stepbrothers and sisters. Other questions? Another question from Chechev Kamir from Instagram. He asked me about my ukulele. He knows that I play ukulele because I did a little bit on Instagram once. And he asked me why I chose to play the ukulele. And I'm not very good, but the reason was that I like the sound of it. I think it's a beautiful sounding instrument. It's small and light, so you can carry it about quite easily. And it sounds lovely. I need to practice more, though. I'm quite bad with practicing consistently. I'll pick it up now and then, but I really should practice more. One moment. Okay, so what other questions did we have? Other questions about myself, again from Instagram. Diego asked me, do I believe in ghosts and supernatural paranormal things? And the answer to that is no, not really. I don't really believe in ghosts, but I'm open-minded. I do think there are some things that cannot be easily explained. Some weird stuff happens sometimes. So, anything is possible, but I've never really, I have had some weird experiences that, but I don't think they were ghosts, So the short answer is no, don't really believe in ghosts. Diego also asked me about what I thought about Ibiza in the island, one of the Spanish islands of Ibiza. That's a good question because it's very famous for its party scene. A lot of people go there to go to clubs, listen to dance music and dance and drink and stuff. I actually quite want to go to Ibiza. A lot of my friends have been there. I have some friends who have been there for fun. Others have DJ'd there. And yeah, I think it would be fun. but it does seem very touristy. I think it's full of tourists, probably somewhat annoying tourists, possibly, but it seems like a fun place to go, maybe. Okay, I've just noticed a question in the live chat. Foro asks, what does suppress mean? Okay, I will answer that question, but I'm going to do the personal questions first. I want to kind of organize them a bit. So I'm going to do the personal questions about me first, and then we can have the vocabulary questions after that. Okay, Cesar says he doesn't have a question, just wants to listen to the topics. That's absolutely fine. You can just listen. It's a good listening practice for you. But if you think of a question, you can write it and ask me, and I will answer it. We'll try to answer it. All right, so let's continue with those personal questions. Just a couple more, and then we can get to the vocabulary. So another question from Farid Lesgin, also on Instagram. He asked me, how long have I learnt this language? I guess he means English. So I started learning it when I was about 3, because I was born in Russia, in Moscow. So the first language I learnt was actually Russian. But now I can speak Russian. My Russian's okay. It's not perfect. But yeah, now English has become my native language because I lived in England from the age of 4 to the age of 28. Yeah, so how long is that? 24 years, I suppose. But I don't know if I'd say I was learning it for that long, because as a child, you pick up language very quickly. You acquire it. And yeah, it's very easy to learn when you're such a young age. All right, again, a question from Instagram. Noelia Benjamin asked me if I had ever been to Brazil. I have not been to Brazil, but I would love to go to Brazil. It's very high on my list of countries I want to go to. I think it's number 1, actually. I'd love to go to Brazil, especially for the carnival. I have some Brazilian students, and I've had a few in the past, and I have a couple now. And I really like people from Brazil and from South America. Well, I like all people, of course, but especially people from Brazil and South America. They're always very warm, very friendly, and lovely. So I will be going to Brazil at some point, maybe next year. Who knows? Well, we will see. Okay, and Noelia Benjamin, also on Instagram again, asked me if I teach language at any school. No, I don't teach at a school now, but I did in the past. So I used to teach at an English language school in Bangkok, in Thailand. And I did that for about 3 years. I taught at a couple of different language schools in Bangkok to Thai students. Most of the students were from Thailand, had some Japanese students as well. That was fun. It was nice teaching in a classroom because it's different. And so now I teach on Skype. I teach one-to-one on Skype online. And it's a very different experience. I like doing both things, of course. But yeah, it's different. So no, I don't teach at a school now, but I used to in the past. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the comments. Juve Sorensen asks, he's from Germany, and asks, you learned, I did learn Russia earlier time in my school time, but now I can't. Okay, so you used to learn Russian when you were at school, but now I guess you have forgotten. That's the problem with languages. If you don't practice, you will forget them quite easily and quite quickly. Okay, so that's enough about me. Those are all the personal questions. So let's move on to let's do vocabulary, a couple of vocabulary questions. Let's start with Foro, if she's still here, hopefully. Yes, she is. Great. So let's start with her. Her question was, what does suppress mean? Suppress means to kind of contain something. So you don't want to let it out. I'll give you a couple of examples. You can, for example, suppress your feelings. It means you're not You're not being open with your feelings. You're keeping them inside, suppressing them. Think about pushing something down and in. Yeah, that was so you can suppress feelings, you can suppress an opinion. That means you don't let it out. Okay, another question. This one from, I think, Teddy. This was from Instagram, a vocabulary question. He asked about the difference between lease and lend. Okay, that's a good question. The difference between lease and lend. So lend, the word lend, is the opposite of borrow. And it's, so if, for example, I might ask, can I borrow your pen? Another way to ask the same question is, can you lend me your pen? So can I borrow your pen? Can you lend me your pen? It's the same thing. It means I'm going to take it for a short time and then I'll give it back to you. The difference with lease, the word lease, is that lease is for money. So you can lease an apartment. It's like lend, but for money. With borrowing and lending, usually doesn't involve money between people, unless it's with a bank. With banks, you do borrow and then you must pay them back. Okay. All right, let's have a look. Oh, I forgot to ask a... Oh, okay, great. Chechiv Kamir is here. You joined me. That's good. I'm glad you're here. I answered your questions already. I started with the personal questions that you asked me, the questions about the brothers and sisters, the ukulele, and my age. So I've already done that. You're going to have to watch the video later to learn those questions, to learn the answers to those questions. So, all right. What else? I forgot to answer one question that a lot of people ask me about where I'm from. And the answer is I'm from the UK. I'm from England. And although originally from Russia, like I said earlier, but yeah, I live in England now in a town called Reading, which is near London. Okay, good. So let's see who else. Okay, so now we've done some vocabulary questions. I've done my personal questions. Let's move on to the grammar. And remember, if you're watching and you think of a question to ask me, you can write it and I will answer it. So let's see. The next question was, okay, someone called Miss Cami, again from Instagram, asked me about the passive voice. So this is, again, a good question. Oh, Anastasia, Nastia is here. Hello, thank you for joining me. If you've got a question, let me know. All right, Miss Cami asked about the passive voice. I will explain it briefly. So the passive voice, let me give you an example of, let's compare an active sentence and a passive sentence. An active sentence, let's say, for example, the family loves the cat. The family loves the cat. It's an active sentence. If we're going to change it to passive, it would be the cat is loved by the family. So what we're doing there is we're swapping the place of the subject and object. In the active sentence, the subject is the family, the object is the cat. When we make it passive, we're going to swap those around. And also we need to change a couple more things. We need to add verb to be. In this case, it is. And because the active sentence, if you notice, the tense was present simple. The family loves the cat, present simple sentence. If we change it to passive, we need to add verb to be in the present simple. So the cat is loved. We need to change loves to loved because we're going to need to use verb 3 always with the passive. Yeah, so the cat is loved by the family. And remember that the passive voice can be used in any tense. So let's try another passive sentence. Oh, Manu is here. Hello, Manu. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So let me just give a couple more passive examples of the passive voice, and then we can move on. So let's do a past simple sentence in the passive. Let's compare an active and a passive past simple sentence. So the active sentence is, the dog bit the man. If we're going to change it to passive, remember, swap the subject and object, add verb to be, this time in the past, and using verb 3. So active, the dog bit the man. Passive, the man was bitten by the dog. So we have to add verb to be in the past, in this case was, and verb 3 of bit or bite is bitten. So the man was bitten by the dog. Okay, just before I move on from that, I just want to say the reason why we use the passive voice. Sometimes it's used in more formal situations like work situations or the news. If you pay attention to the news, they often use passive sentences. It's when the action, when the thing that happens is more important than the subject. It's more important that a thing happened rather than who did it. Who did it isn't so important when it's a passive sentence. So another example, last example, active sentence, a thief has stolen my bag. A thief has stolen my bag. Passive, my bag has been stolen by a thief. Or you could sometimes you can even leave out the original subject. So I can just simply say my bag has been stolen. And the by a thief, it's not so important. It's not really what matters. The thing that matters in that sentence is my bag is gone. It has been stolen. That's when we use the passive. Okay, let's have a look back to the live chat window. So Juve Sorensen asks, we had last weekend change of winter time to summertime. Was it in England too? Yes, that is correct. We are now, I think, on what is called BST, British Summertime. The clocks went forward. This always confuses me. I always forget, are the clocks going forward? Are they going backwards? But yeah, the clocks went forward on Sunday, last Sunday. Yeah, so I think it happens in quite a few European countries. It's the same. Yeah, we call it British summertime or daylight savings. That's what it is. Let's have a look. Okay, good question from Anastasia Semina. She asks, is there a real difference between can I talk to Mr. Brown and could I talk to Mr. Brown? Is could more polite? Yeah. That's exactly right. Could is more polite. It's got exactly the same meaning, but if you do want to be that extra little bit polite, just use could instead of can. But it's exactly the same meaning, but definitely a little bit more polite. Not massively polite. I mean, nobody's going to think, if you say, can I speak to Mr. Brown? People will not think that you're rude, but it is a little bit more polite to say could I instead. Okay, it's Man who asks, what about the lesson? What do you mean? What lesson? Well, it's a kind of Q&A session. So this is a chance for you to ask me questions and for me to answer them. I have done, it's a bit of a mix of everything. So I did answer some personal questions. I answered some vocabulary questions and a little bit of grammar as well. Okay, Veronica asks me, what country did you visit last time? Okay, so the last country I visited was Germany. I went to Berlin in, I think it was February. I went to Berlin in February just for a few days. It was lots of fun. Yeah, I go to Germany quite often because my grandparents live there and I really like Germany. I like the culture, I like the language. I study German language myself, actually. So I go there at least once a year, usually. And it was a holiday. Yeah, it was a short holiday, just for a few days. I partied a bit. I walked around the city. It was lovely. It was really nice. Okay, Akio Albana asks, you don't answer my question yet about grammar in speaking. Okay, maybe I forgot to write it down. Oh, right. What was your question again? I think you asked something like, is grammar important in speaking? I guess. Well, Yeah, we do use grammar, but when we're speaking, often it is more informal. So when we're writing, the grammar rules are usually more important than when we're speaking. But it's definitely important, I think, to learn a bit of grammar so that you speak correctly and people can understand what you mean. Because if you get your grammar wrong, it can sometimes change the meaning of a sentence, and it can be confusing for people who are listening to you. So yeah, grammar is important in both in speech and in writing. Probably more so in writing though. Okay, for raw, I mean asks, suppress means exhibit, right? No. They're quite different. Exhibit means to show. Suppress means to kind of hide. So actually, they're almost opposite. So they're not the same. Quite different. Okay, Francesca Rodero Lorente says hello from Barcelona. Hello. Okay, cool. Akil has to do presentation about Indonesian culture. Interesting. Okay, you're welcome, Anastasia. Okay, Diza Lucia, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but asks, what do you think about the city of Rio de Janeiro? I've never been there. I'd like to go there, but to be honest, I don't know a lot about it because I've never been. But it's definitely a city that I want to visit. Okay. Oh, right. For raw, I mean, then corrected herself and said, oh, I mean inhibit. Yeah, it's similar. Suppress and inhibit, they are similar in meaning, yes. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Diese or Diese Lucia says, I hate Germany because 7-1 on my country. Talking about the World Cup. Yes, they did beat you 7-1. I think they beat Brazil. Yeah, I watched that game and it was a really exciting game. I was happy because it was an exciting football game to watch. Okay, it's Manu asks, are you a teacher in real life? I mean, if you teach in school or university or just online? Now I teach just online, but I did teach at a school. Yes, I am a real teacher. I have a qualification in teaching, so I was trained to be a teacher, and I have how long have I been teaching? I've been teaching for about 3.5 years. So in the past, I used to teach at a language school, but now I teach online. It's nice because it's very convenient to teach online, and you don't have to travel anywhere, and you can connect to students from all over the world, which is really cool. Because when I was teaching at a language school, it was great. I really enjoyed it, but all my students were Thai. They're from Thailand because I was in Thailand, and that was wonderful. I love Thai people and Thai culture. But what I like about teaching online is that 1 minute I'm teaching a Russian, the next moment I'm teaching someone from Brazil, and then somebody in Spain. So it's a lot of variety, and I get to learn something about other people's cultures as well, and it's really great. Okay. Okay. Kamia, Veronica. His sister lives in Germany. Cool. Which part of Germany? That's awesome. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, I can see some funny questions at the bottom there, but I'm gonna continue with the order. So Veronica asks, do I do any sport? Not a lot, not as much as I should. I like to play tennis and badminton. Actually, I'm playing badminton tomorrow. I have if you can see, I have a badminton racket right here. So I'm excited about playing badminton tomorrow with my sister and her husband and my friend. It should be really fun. I like racket sports, so table tennis, and badminton. Those are my favorite things to do, and also hula hooping. Okay. Okay, Fabiano Pereira, sorry, I hope that's right, asks, I've had some trouble about reading. I can't keep it. What do you mean you can't keep it? But he asks, could you give me some advice to become to become this skill better, to get better at reading. Okay. Maybe you're trying to read things that are too difficult. Maybe start with very simple, very basic books. Maybe kids' books. That's what I did when I'm learning German, and I got a book that was designed for German children, maybe of the age of 4 or 5. Very, very simple children's book. But I started reading it, and there were still some words that I didn't understand. So I Googled the words, Google Translate, to help me understand sometimes. It had pictures in it as well. That helped me to understand. But it was very simple, very basic. So my recommendation to build your confidence in reading is to start with something simple and easy, like a kid's book. Don't feel embarrassed. Everybody has to learn in some way. So yeah, kids' books is my recommendation. And then as you become more confident, you can get reading material that is more and more advanced. Okay. Dieza Lucia, I did pronounce the name correctly. Wonderful. Leandro is here. Leanne Garcia asks if I'm a real person. You know I am, because you are my student. Okay. He's being cheeky there. So, okay, Veronica then asks, what music do I prefer? I like lots of different kinds of music. I like what kind of music is well, my favorite kind of music is disco music, like music from the 70s and 80s, old school music. I like that. But I also like some electronic music, like house music. I also like reggae. I like soul. Soul music is wonderful, and funk. But I also enjoy rock, like old kind of stuff like Beatles, the Rolling Stones, lots of stuff, really. Okay. It's Manu says, I look very young. Thank you. I think I said my age wrong earlier. I think when I started this live Q&A, I think I told you I was 27, but I'm not. I'm 28. Soon to be 29. I forgot how old I was for a moment because I was a bit nervous. Anyway. Okay, that's a very good question. Juve Sorensen asks, one moment. Okay, Juve Sorensen asks, what short difference between other and another? Good question. Yeah, so actually I see a lot of students getting these words confused quite often, other and another. Another means just one other thing. Let me give you an example. So we use another when we're talking about just one other thing, other when it's more than one. So I can say, I don't want to live in England. I want to live in another country. It means just one other. I want to live in another country. A sentence using other, I can say, I want to visit other countries. So plural. Yeah. So that's the main difference between other and another. Okay. Diaz Lucia asks, what do I think about Brazil? I actually answered that question already. So after this is finished, you can go back and you can go back and listen to my opinions about Brazil, but they're positive. I've never been there, but I like it. But I did talk about it in more detail a little bit earlier in this session. Okay, well, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation about your names. Okay, hello, Israel asks, at, in, on, simply difference. That is difficult. So the problem with those three prepositions, in, on, at, is that there are some rules about how to use them, but not always. Sometimes, so these are prepositions. We can use these words to talk about time. So for example, I have a meeting on Wednesday. not in Wednesday, not at Wednesday, but on Wednesday. So if it's a day of the week, it's on. If it's time of the day, I have a meeting at 5. So if it's a time of the day, we use at. There are some rules like that. There's quite a few rules, but sometimes there are not rules. So for example, you look at something usually, but you're interested in something. We can't say I'm interested on something or I'm interested at something. We'd say interested in always. So some words just go together and you just have to remember what they are. But it is a bit tricky. There's those prepositions. Okay. Okay, it's Manu says, I look 22. That's very kind. Thank you. I'm happy about that. Okay, good. Veronica now understands about the difference between another and other. I'm glad. So just going back to the questions that people asked me on Instagram, just having a look. Somebody asked me about, I think it was you actually, Veronica, or Chechiv Kamia, asked me about the present perfect. The present perfect tense, because that's such a big topic. What I will do is make a separate video about the present perfect tense. Probably not a live video, but a proper YouTube video to explain more about the present perfect tense, because it's a big topic and it is quite complicated because there's more than one use of the present perfect tense. We use it in several different ways and situations, and people often get it confused with the past simple tense, and then there's the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous. So it's a huge topic which I don't really have time to go into now, but it's a good question. Okay, back to the comments. Let's see. It's Manu says, Anya, I need to improve my listening skill. I'm working hard on it, at least 1 hour per day. Do you think it's possible to improve in 6 months? I'm not meaning to be fluent, but how could I improve? Well, continue doing what you're doing. Yes, I think it's definitely possible to improve in 6 months. You will. It's if you do practice 1 hour every day for 6 months, you will 100% improve. It's all about practice. And if you're practicing already, you're practicing right now because you're listening to me, and hopefully you're understanding most of what I say or some of what I say. So that's very good for your listening skills and practice. Just continue every day, do a bit of listening, watch a YouTube video, watch something on the news, and practice your listening, English listening skills, and you definitely will improve over 6 months. Absolutely. Okay, Veronica asks, if you get old, how you treat it. Do you mean, I think you mean like, how do I feel about getting old, perhaps? Not good. I'm not looking forward to getting older. I enjoy being relatively young, so not looking forward to getting old. But that's something you have to do in life. You have to accept the fact you will get old and die. Okay. Okay, Veronica. Yeah, no problem. I had been planning to do that present perfect video for a while. The problem with doing a video is that because it's a big topic, it will take a long time to explain. And I've noticed that people on YouTube, people who watch YouTube videos, they don't want a long video. They like something, they like something that's 5 minutes maximum. And it's very, very difficult to explain such a big topic in a short space of time. That's the problem with making a video like that. People get bored after 5 minutes usually, but I'll do it anyway, and for you and for other people who find it helpful. Okay. Okay, Days Lucia asks, says, I hate North Korea. How about you? I don't want to talk about politics because I think that it's bad. Simple answer, yeah, North Korea is not good because it's a dictatorship. They treat their people very badly. Yeah, I don't like North Korea, but I don't want to start getting too political. Okay, right. Akio Albana asks, are you live scheduled? Because I don't want to miss your teaching. They're not scheduled at the moment, no, but they will be in the future. So I am planning to create a schedule of YouTube classes or Facebook Live, but I need to kind of plan it a little bit. I need to do some planning. But yeah, they will become more regular. Right now, I just do it occasionally when I have time, but I'm planning to make it more regular soon in the near future. Okay. Okay. So Veronica said, not old, cold, right? If I get a cold, how do I treat it? I drink lots of tea. Well, I drink lots of tea anyway, but if I have a cold, I'll drink tea to make my throat better. Might take some medicine, and just lots of rest, really. Just try and rest if I get a cold. Okay, it's Manu says, almost always I can understand what about the people say, but I don't understand every word. Well, that's fine. You don't have to understand every single word. The important part, the important thing is that you understand most of it, or that you understand, the general idea. That's important. It's not important to understand every single word. Not always, anyway. I mean, sometimes I'll read a book and I'll see a word I don't know. I mean, I know I'm an English teacher, but I don't know every single word in the English language. Probably the same for you. I'm sure you don't know every single word in your own native language. So it's fine. When you see a word or when you hear a word you're not sure about, ask the person who's speaking if you can, or try and write it down how it sounds and then Google it. If you're very curious, if you really want to know what the word means, yeah, look it up. Okay. I am Mohammed. Hello. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Cesar says, I don't have anything for practice. What should I do for? What do you mean? You say I don't have anything for practice. What should I do? Do you mean you don't? Can you actually explain a bit more what you mean? Because I'm not quite sure. Yeah, can you? Yeah, if you can explain what you mean, I can help answer that a little bit better. Okay, Veronica says planning to visit South Korea. Oh, that's cool. I've never been to South Korea, but my sister is going there soon. She loves Asian culture, specifically South Korean culture. So she is visiting South Korea with her husband soon. Okay, Hello Israel asks, what are all the books behind me? That's my father's collection of books. He has many, many, many books, and those are some of them. So that's all the books. There are a lot of those are Russian books, but they're I don't know what they're about. I haven't read them, to be honest. Okay. Okay, let's see. It's Manu says, okay, last question from her. Do you that listen and try and transcript? Okay. So it's Manu asks, listening and trying to write a transcript of what you're hearing, is it a good idea or activity? Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, it could be. But I don't know. I think I don't know if it's the most. If I don't know if it's the best thing to do. I think the best thing is to make sure you understand it. I don't know what value it really brings to write everything down. It could help. Yeah, do it a bit perhaps. But I think the most important thing is comprehension. Comprehension means making sure you understand exactly what the meaning is. So what I suggest is I think BBC Learning, BBC Learning English, and lots of other YouTube channels, they have specific listening comprehension videos, or Google it online. Type in English listening comprehension test, and you have to listen to something and then answer questions about it, and that tests how well you understood what was being said. And I think that's the thing that I would recommend. Okay, I am Mohammed asks how to use past perfect continuous. Okay, so someone asked earlier also about present perfect. Again, So how to use it? Well, the structure of past perfect continuous is had, been, and then verb ing. So I had been walking. But to be honest, this is not a tense that we use very often. This is quite a rarely used tense. So I would say, unless you're super advanced, don't worry too much about that tense, because it's really quite rarely used. I would focus more on the commonly very often used tenses like present simple, present continuous, past simple, present perfect, maybe past perfect, and future tense. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. What are we saying? Okay, okay. Dears Lucia is asking some quite interesting, funny questions. Asks, what's your favorite solar system moon? Yours is Phoebe. I have no idea. I'm not very, actually, astronomy, like the study of the moons and the stars, is not something I'm very knowledgeable about. I don't know the names of the different moons of the solar system. So I'm afraid I can't answer that. Let's see. Francesco Rodero Lorente drinks lemon and honey in hot water. Yeah, honey. I have honey. Actually, I have a teaspoon of honey in my tea every time I drink tea. Instead of sugar, I use honey. It's really nice and it's good for your throat. So yeah, I approve and I agree with that. Veronica asked, would I sing for you? No, sorry, but absolutely not. The song is... I'm sorry, I can't sing. I don't want to hurt your ears by singing to you. I'm terrible at singing. I can't, and it's embarrassing. So I'm going to say no for now about the singing. Sorry. Okay, you're welcome. Hello, Israel. Okay, Marcos Kayan asks, any tips to improve listening? To me, it seems the British accent is more comprehensible than the American one. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, there are lots and lots of British accents. So mine is kind of the standard, I guess, RP, received pronunciation, Southern British accent. But if you go up to Liverpool or Newcastle or Birmingham, you will hear accents that sound very, very different from mine. If you go to Scotland or Wales or Ireland, they sound very different to me. So there's so many British accents. As for tips to improve your listening, I said earlier to another person who's watching, I said, Google or type into YouTube, English listening comprehension. I'm going to write it for you here. Just copy and paste this. English listening comprehension. Yeah, just copy and paste that, and you'll find some exercises. So you'll hear something, and then you will need to answer some questions about it. That's the best way to improve your listening. But you're already doing a good job of improving your listening by being right here and listening to me. So well done. Okay. Veronica asks, do I like to give or to get presents? Yeah, I do. I like both. I like giving and receiving presents. It's always nice. I think everybody likes that. Okay, no problem. It's Manu. Okay, Marcus Cayenne is from Brazil. Wonderful. Okay, Dieza Lucia asks, what do I think about Bosnia? I don't know a lot about, again, good questions, but I don't know a lot about Bosnia, to be honest. I know there are troubles there, and it's that's all I know. A bit embarrassing, but I don't know a lot about it. So, what do you think? What do you think about Bosnia? Cesar asks, I mean, only I can practice by listening. Is that enough? No, I think it's not enough by itself. Listening is good. It's very good to practice your listening. It's great. But remember, it's only one skill out of several in English. You also need to practice your speaking, your reading, your writing. I think speaking is the most important skill to practice because that's communication. Listening also important. Reading and writing can be important. It depends on what you do and what you need English for. But you should also practice grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. All of these skills together is what is going to help you. So not only listening. Okay. Okay, Veronica asks, do I have a teddy bear? Yeah, I have some teddy bears. I still have some, even though I am an adult, but yeah, I have some teddy bears. Okay, Aya Mohammed asks, what's written on my necklace? There's no writing, it's a butterfly, if you can see. There's no writing, just a butterfly on my necklace. Yeah, and you want to see? There it is. It's a Swarovski. Okay, so let's see. Okay, it's Manu asks, what type of people do I get on with? Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, it's a really good question. What kind of people do I get on with? I guess friendly people, and people who, I like people who are good listeners. So I don't really like it when people just talk only about themselves. I think a part of a good conversation is listening and speaking. This is why when I'm doing a live video, it's a bit strange because I'm just talking. And yeah, I can read your comments, but I can't hear you. So it's a bit strange for me. But yeah, so people who are good listeners, I get on well with them. People who are kind or funny, I like, funny people are always good. Yeah. Okay, dear Sir Lucio asks, what do I think about Russia? Well, that is a good question. I'm from Russia. I was born in Russia. But so, I have a connection to Russia. But as a country, it's complicated. I think that it has a few problems, perhaps, but I don't want to get too political at the moment. So, yeah. I'm just going to say, in general, I like Russia. Not so sure about Russia's politics, though. But anyway, wow. Okay, getting quite deep with the questions now. Let's have a look. Let's see. So Veronica asks, have I ever been betrayed? No, actually. I don't think so. Maybe if I have a long think, then maybe yeah, but no, thankfully, no, I haven't, which is nice. Dear Lucia, missed the bad word question. What do you mean? What bad word question? I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, and Akil Albana asks, do you like pickup line men? Oh, right, pickup line. No, not really. Usually, I think most people think that pickup lines are a bit cheesy, and I don't know. It depends. It depends on the pickup lines. If it's funny and silly, then maybe it's okay. But most of the time, no. Most of the time, no. Okay, it's Manu asks, do I have a religion? Okay, again, yeah, getting quite deep now, but not really. No, I was christened in the Russian Orthodox Church, but I consider myself an agnostic, which means an agnostic means that I don't know. I don't know if there is a God. Don't really know. I think nobody really knows, to be honest. So yeah, I consider myself agnostic, which means it's different from atheists. So atheists believe there is no God. Agnostics say they don't know if there is a God or not. Okay. Veronica, again, do I like cooking? No, I don't like cooking. I can't cook and I don't really enjoy it, but I like it when people cook for me. All right. Ayam Mohammed asks, do I know how to pass the IELTS test? Well, I've never taken the IELTS test, but I have prepared students for the IELTS test before. The way to prepare is the way to pass is to be very well prepared. The way to pass is to study, and study some more, and practice a lot. Try your best to be as fluent as you can, really. So learning things like phrasal verbs and idioms and using them correctly in a natural way, that's the way to pass the IELTS. But you have to practice all of those skills because the IELTS involves writing as well. So you've got to develop every skill that is tested in the IELTS to pass it. There's no easy trick to passing it, I'm afraid. It's just a lot of hard work. That's all. Cesar, can you do conversation with us by camera live stream one day in private chat? I'm afraid, well, so this is, public, this video. For private chat, you would need to buy a package of classes, or you need to buy a class with me, which you can do on my website, anyateachesenglish.com. So I teach online by Skype, one-to-one, but that is something you would need to pay for. Okay. Okay, you've okay. That's a good question. Sorensen asks the difference between also and to, and asks if it matters which one you use. Yes, it matters. Because I know why you're asking this, because you're German and you say auch, right? And auch kind of sounds like also, but they have a similar meaning. But usually we have to at the end. So if we're agreeing with someone, I might say, I like cake. And someone say, I like it too. So to is at the end. Also comes earlier in a sentence. So I like cake. I also like cake. So it's a bit, they are slightly different, but they have similar meanings. But the usage, the way we use them is a little different. Veronica, I haven't read Pride and Prejudice. I watched it. I watched the TV series and I think the movie, but I don't remember the characters' names actually. So I don't know. I don't know the story of Pride and Prejudice well enough to answer that question, I'm afraid. Okay. Let's see. Egypt. What do I think about Egypt? I don't know too much about Egypt. I don't have a specific opinion about Egypt. I think it's one moment. Yeah, so I don't really have an opinion about Egypt, to be honest, because I don't know enough about it. I think it's an interesting country because they've got the pyramids and stuff. I'd like to see the pyramids one day, to be a tourist, really. But yeah, I don't have enough information about Egypt to give my opinion on it, I think. Okay. What the students should not to do in an online class. For example, what things could sound rude or impolite? Okay, that's a good question. It's Manu. I think, okay, one thing that is quite impolite, in my opinion, and I think other people will agree with me, is that, if somebody, if you say, hello, how are you to someone, and they just say, I'm fine, and that's it. That's a bit rude. The polite thing to do is ask the same question back. I'm fine, thank you. How are you? That's, basic manners, really. I have had people in the past where I say, hi, how are you? And they say, I'm fine. And then nothing else. And I think that's a little bit rude. So yeah, you should ask the question back. You should also, basic things to not sound rude are to, when you ask a question, use the word please, and, make it kind of your language a bit soft. So instead of saying, tell me this, you can say, could you please tell me this? Just things like that. Dieza Lucia says, when someone says a bad word and it can't stop, what do I do? What do you mean? Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you mean. What do you mean it can't stop? When someone says a bad word and it can't stop. Do you mean when you say something wrong, when you want to say one thing, but you accidentally say another thing? Can you be a little bit clearer? Because I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that question. Okay, Detroit asks, do I have a pet? What's your favorite animal? Yeah, I have. Well, I'm staying with living with my father at the moment, and family. And yeah, we've got two cats, one ginger cat called Noodle and a black cat called Lucy. And they're lovely. And cats are probably my favorite animal. I love cats. Those are my favorite animals. Veronica, read it. It's great. Okay, talking about Pride and Prejudice. I will. One day, maybe. I have so many books that I need to read, but perhaps one day I will read Pride and Prejudice. I should. It's a classic. I really should read it. Okay. Do I know Kazakhstan? Yeah, I mean, I know Kazakhstan. I've heard of it, and I have some friends from Kazakhstan, but I've never been there. I've never been to Kazakhstan. Are you from Kazakhstan? Okay, Haki Yildiz asks, have I been to Turkey? No, never been to Turkey, but it also sounds like an interesting country. There are lots of countries that I'd like to go to around the world, and yeah, Turkey would be one of them, I think. Okay. Okay, Haki Yildiz asks, do we need to learn how to curse in the class? You don't need to. You don't need to, but if you want to, you can, because at the end of the day, a lot of people, they might be a bit offended by bad language or swear words, but those words are part of the language. So it's good to know them, I think, because if you're watching a movie and you hear a rude word, a bad word, a swear word, then you want to know what it means, right? So yeah, I guess it is quite important to learn the bad words and the rude words as well, because people use them and you should know what they mean. Okay. All right. It's Manu asks, do I do housework? Occasionally, rarely, but I mean, what do I do around the house? Like tidying, a little bit of tidying or hoovering, vacuum cleaning, but not a lot. Luckily, in this house, we have a dishwasher, so I don't need to wash the dishes, just put them away in the dishwasher. It's great. Okay. Okay, Diaz Lucia says, when I said it won't stop, I mean the person says a bad word and then it never stops saying the same word over and over and over and over again. Well, I don't know. What can you do? I mean, if that person is annoying you and being weird, then remove yourself from the situation, I would say. I don't think I've ever been in such a situation. But it sounds like you should, if that person is acting weirdly, then leave them alone and go do something else and don't see that person maybe. Okay, I am Mohammed asks, would I like to visit Sweden? Have I ever been there? Yes, I have. I've been to Sweden. I went to Sweden about 3 years ago, to Stockholm, near Stockholm, and it's nice. I really like Sweden. It's quite expensive, but it is a nice country. I like it. Yeah, it's gloomy. You're saying the weather's gloomy in Sweden, but it's nice in the summer. When I went in the summer and it was beautiful. It was very warm. It was hot, actually, and I liked it because the days were so long. It only got dark for a very short space of time. It was great. Okay. Okay. Veronica asks, why is your English so understandable? Thank you. But there and people who have difficulty to. Okay. Well, I try to be clear with my English. I try to be as clear as I can. I know I speak a little bit fast sometimes. People have told me I try to speak a bit slower, but yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's my accent, and also that I know that you guys who are watching are not native speakers, so I'm trying to be as clear as I can for you to understand. Wow, so many good questions. Okay, I am gonna, let me see, how much time do we have? 7:30. Let me just check something, because I have a class at some time. What time is my class? Okay. I will answer maybe 3 more questions and then I will have to go. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's Manu. Great question. What are the best and worst things in your profession? Okay, the best. Should we start with the worst? Let's start with the worst and end on a high. The worst thing about my profession. It's when. Okay, I think one of the worst things about teaching is when a student says that they want to learn English, but then they don't really put any effort into learning English. There are some, occasionally in the past, I have had students where they expect you to spoon feed them the English. They expect you to be able to wave a magic wand and suddenly you can speak English. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. To be able to speak English, the teacher can do their best to help them and give them everything, try to explain things. But at the end of the day, it is the student's responsibility to help themselves in learning English by doing homework, studying outside of the class, and helping themselves. So it's frustrating as a teacher when someone says, I want to learn English, but then they don't do anything to help themselves learn English and expect that the teacher can like that and you can speak English, because it doesn't work like that. Okay. But the best thing, okay, that's annoying that when that happens, but the best thing is when you do get a motivated student, someone who's really interested in learning English, someone who finds it exciting, and when it's the most rewarding thing and the best thing is that moment when you explain something and the student says, oh, I get it. I understand it now because of your explanation. That makes me feel good. And that's why I teach. That's because I enjoy helping people to understand stuff. So that's the best thing. Okay, Veronica says, what kind of clothes do I prefer? It depends on my mood. Sometimes I like casual clothes, like very like baggy, and other times I like dresses. I like bright. One thing I like with clothes, usually, I know you can't tell today, this is grey, but I often like bright colors. I like bright colors and patterns, things that are gold or pink. Yeah, lots of different things like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, Detroit, difference between each and every. Okay, they're very similar. They're synonyms. There's very little difference between those. And I'm glad you also like cats, another cat lover. Wonderful. Okay. Nelson King asks, what's my age? I am 28. Okay, it's Manu asks, okay, that's not a silly question. You asks, this question could sound like silly, but there's someone poor in London, England, or everyone's rich? It's not a silly question. It's a good question. There's a mix. There's a big mix in England between rich and poor. To live in London is a very expensive city, so you do need to be quite rich to live in London, but at the same time, there is actually also a lot of homeless people in London and across England and the UK. There's a mix. Some people are rich, other people are very poor. There is a problem of people without a home living on the streets. It's really sad. So there's a mix. It's a mix between rich and poor. I think it's the same in most countries. I'm guessing most countries have both rich and poor. Yeah, Veronica. Okay, well, hang on. Where am I? Okay, Akil Albana asks, "Do I know 9gag? What do you think about it? It's funny." Yeah, some things on 9gag are funny. I don't look at it 9gag too much, but yeah, some of the stuff can be funny. Some stuff is not funny. It depends. I think it varies, but generally, yeah, it's okay. I like it. Okay, Veronica says, I'm sunny. Yes, you can say that. Thank you. You can call a person a sunny person. It means they're happy and smiley. So yeah, you can definitely say that. Oh, thank you, Haki Yildiz. That's very nice. That's a very nice compliment. Thank you. I'm really having trouble with your name. Isa or Diza Lucia says, "Can you watch the second movie of Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann? It's a great movie." Okay, I'll copy and paste that, and I'll copy and paste that and look it up later. The problem is I don't actually have that much time. I don't spend a lot of time watching movies now, but I'll make a note of it, and if I get some time at some point, I will. Thank you for the recommendation. Okay, Detroit, thank you very much. No problem. I was happy to answer your question. Okay. Badia, okay, it's one of my students. Badia has joined us. Hello, Badia. We had a class earlier today. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, my best quote. That's really hard. There's so many really good quotes. Just thinking off the top of my head. Okay, I'm going to give you, because now I'm struggling, now that you've asked me, I'm struggling to think of any, but there's one that I can remember, which I quite like, and it's by a singer called Dolly Parton, and she said, "If you want to see the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain." I like that quote because it's kind of true. So it means basically, if you want good things to happen, you have to tolerate, or you have to deal with the bad things first. If you want to see the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain. I like that quote. Okay, Veronica asks, who is my favorite actor and actress? I like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he's a really good actor. I really like him. Actress. Who's my favorite actress? I quite like Angelina Jolie, I guess. I don't know, actually. It's a good question. Yeah, I guess Angelina Jolie, she's okay. I need to think more about actress, but actor Leonardo DiCaprio. It's Manu says, "Are you consider you are rich?" No, I don't consider myself rich. I think I'm not poor, not rich, somewhere in between, I guess. Okay, thank you. It's Manu. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining. Okay. Okay, good. So I've answered all the questions here. I'm just going to answer a couple more. I had a couple of questions on Instagram, which I'm going to answer now. And that is someone called Ensan Kerad asks he asked me for advice about ways to encourage students to speak English, because I think he is a teacher of English himself. I think it's important to be patient, to give people room and time to practice and make mistakes, Okay, yeah, that's the thing. I think most people, the thing that holds them back from speaking English or speaking any other language that's not their native language is the fear of making mistakes. And, they find it embarrassing. They don't want to make a mistake, but you have to encourage students, and you guys all have to remember that it's very normal to make mistakes. It's not a problem. It's fine. That's the way you learn. So the thing to do is just, you've got to try. You've got to just speak it and know that you will make mistakes, but that is fine. Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's it. I don't know how long I've been online. Oh, wow. Okay. For more than an hour, actually. That's quite long, isn't it? Right. So that I'm going to finish it there for today. I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined. It was very nice to have you here. If you came halfway through, or if you're watching this later, you can, watch the whole thing from the start. And yeah, thanks again for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.